y pueblo en que yo nací, sereno con un sombrerazo, donde vivían mis parientes, mis amigos, los griegos Homeros y los Moyas.
I had to bring some Mexican to Puerto Rico. Buenos días, Dele Dios. Buenos días, Dele Dios. Gracias a la Alianza de América Nueva por reunirnos aquí. Es una bendición estar juntos en esta hermosa isla, no solo para conectar, sino para comenzar conversaciones que cambiaran el rumbo de nuestra historia y nuestra industria. Es la primera vez en mi vida que estoy en una sala de tantos latinos con el poder, la influencia y la visión para cambiar el mundo. Y es también mi primera vez en Puerto Rico, una tierra que, como la mía, está llena de gente orgulloso, apasionado y trabajadora, con comida deliciosa, música vibrante y una cultura profundamente enriquecida. To start off our conversation, I'd like to share a little bit about my journey. Soy nuevo mexicana, mestiza, a blend of indigenous, Mexican, Spanish, French, Portuguese, güera y un poquito negrita. I take immense pride in what makes New Mexico special. We are kind, humble people who work hard for what little we have. We are rich in culture, love our food, and embrace the diversity of our state. We have 23 sovereign nations. We are a majority-minority state and the only state with a bright yellow flag from Zia Pueblo, whose rays represent the 4 seasons, the 4 times of the day, the 4 directions, and the 4 phases of life. We are known for the world's largest international balloon fiestas, just happened last week, and of course, our jewelry and our famous red and green chili. Our Constitution recognizes that we have 2 primary languages, English and Spanish. I invite all of you, y también el Bad Bunny, who's from right here in La Isla del Encanto, to visit my own Tierra de Encanto, land of enchantment, the place I call home. Though our histories are different, our roots run deep in language, faith, culture, and family. We stand strong through adversity, and no matter the challenge, we rise up. In recent months, even years, Latinos in America have continued to face challenges that are growing in both frequency and severity. From dangerous political rhetoric to policy shifts deliberately targeting our communities, there's a movement aimed at pressuring us to minimize who we are, even to erase our identity through fear, persecution, and even violence. This is nothing new. History is repeating itself. When my parents were growing up, they were paddled by their school principal for speaking Spanish. Despite the Treaty of Guadalupe's promise to respect our language, our religion, and our property, their culture was punished. They made the difficult decision to hire an English-speaking babysitter and gave us names like Laura, Jeannie, and Lawrence Michael, instead of who we were, Laura, Juanita, y Lorenzo Miguel. Sounds better too. Still, I grew up in a neighborhood where our music always played loud and proud, whether people were working or celebrating. Saturday mornings, when my mom turned on 89.1 KANW, you knew it was time to get up and start cleaning house. I still remember the freedom of those Saturday afternoons, riding my bike through the streets of Las Vegas, with no destination, just the wind in my face, and rancheras floating through the air. We'd stop at the tiendita, a bunch of friends of mine, pull out change together, add it all up, and buy 10 fireballs for $1, daring each other to see who could last the longest. I'd come home to the smell of fresh tortillas, fresh beans, and red chili. We didn't have much, but in those moments, Surrounded by music, laughter, family, and community, I felt the richest. And I bet each of you has a childhood memory when life felt simple and the world was full of possibility. You could always hear construction workers, painters, roofers, cooks playing their music while building and nourishing our community. Music gave us joy and identity and helped us dream while working hard. That feeling, that joy, the possibility is something we all still carry within us. It is that same spirit that drives us to build businesses, raise families, and lead with purpose. But somewhere along the way, life gets louder, the stakes get higher, and that sense of limitless potential starts to feel out of reach. This year, the volume has turned down. People are afraid that their music will draw unwanted attention. And that fear leads to a dangerous sameness where expression is silenced and our identity begins to fade. When our music is quieted, when our language is shamed, when our children are told to hide who they are, it sends a clear message that our communities matter less, our contributions matter less, and our value is diminished. I reject that, unequivocally. I ran for state treasurer to make sure that communities that have been told to step aside are finally seen, to ensure that Latinos are no longer viewed as a cost or a burden, but as a powerful investment that drives innovation and creates lasting value. I've often been overlooked because of my identity. As the first elected Latina in this country's history, I've been asked to leave private events, mistaken for staff, asked to get the coffee for a colleague, and even ignored when everyone else at the table was greeted. Just yesterday. I refuse to accept the narrative that our community is a burden or an afterthought. We have always been builders, innovators, and contributors, and the numbers prove it. And since you all are numbers folks, I put them out there on the board for you to read with me. Undocumented immigrants households paid $89.8 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2023 and held almost $300 billion in spending power. Immigrant households overall contributed $652 billion in taxes with a combined spending power of $1.7 trillion. Latino GDP reached $4.1 trillion, representing 30.6% US GDP growth, despite only being 19.5% of the population. This represents an increase more than 2.7 times faster than the non-Latino US GDP. If we were a country, the Latino economy would be the 5th largest economy in the world. The US Latino growth rate surpassed the world's 10 largest countries, including China and India. Imagine what we could have achieved if the systemic barriers holding us back were removed. The truth is, it's astonishing what we've already been able to achieve despite the barriers or the changing of these. As Latinos, we are deeply passionate, some would say spicy, about family, love, art, music, food, business, and poetry. But passion without purpose means nothing. My purpose as state treasurer is to protect public trust. That means defending the sanctity of data, upholding the independence of our offices, and acting in good faith on behalf of all people, not parties, not politics, people. Being a fiduciary is about more than managing money. It's about making decisions rooted in responsibility, transparency, and equity. When we prioritize the most vulnerable, we strengthen the entire system. Too often, people in power behave like crabs in a bucket, pulling each other down instead of lifting each other up. But power built on exclusion is fragile. Power built on inclusion is enduring. The 10th edition of McKinsey & Company reported that young men are likely to be promoted based on potential, whereas young women are promoted based on what they already accomplished. When we align our strategies with the needs and the values of our communities, passion and purpose converge. And that is where we secure our authority as leaders. And it's not just the right thing to do, it's the economically smart thing to do.